David Schrieberg. I'm the founder and CEO of VitalBriefing. We are a global market intelligence company based in Luxembourg. It's my great pleasure to be here with Giulia Bruni-Roccia, who is head of corporate sustainability, at Quintet Bank. Giulia, thank you for joining. You gave a great fireside chat today with me. Thank you for that. One of the things we discussed was regulations and what regulations our audience need to be paying the most attention to right now in this kind of changing regulatory landscape. What's your feeling on that?
I think companies and financial institutions like banks need to pay attention to the fact that regulators are recalibrating all the different regulations around sustainable finance. And you can really see that with SFDR 2.0, which is still a draft, but it can give a hint of where we're going with more sophisticated product categorization, which can really help move more finance towards sustainability. The other key topic and key regulatory changes around sustainability reporting. CSRD, after a long wait, is finally here. And we can already see companies that are already reporting based on CSRD. And this is really great news for transparency, because transparency is at the basis of good decision making.
One of the things you mentioned when we talked on stage today was discussions with your peers across the industry and what you were seeing in terms of how their companies are reacting. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, I think what is really good is that there's a lot of exchange, a lot of open exchange between peers on the topic of sustainability, because we all believe that the topic is here to stay. It's not something of the past. We just need to find a different way of working with it. So there's a lot of interaction to understand what are the priorities that we could be focusing on. At the end, I see that there's quite some alignment between banks, and we're all focusing on, climate change is clearly a key topic, and setting a transition pathway. So setting a clear view of where we want to get to in terms of emissions reduction.
Do you see differences as well in the way various companies, various banks are approaching the issues?
Yes, I think there's different ways. Organization and governance are different ways. I think the other difference that I've seen between banks is also around the data that they equip themselves with, because it's a thing. We need the data to be able to define our strategy and track it and take the necessary decisions.
Is data still an issue? Sorry to interrupt.
No.
Data is a huge problem, has been a huge problem.
It is. But I see that going back to regulations are all also recognizing that finally. And so they're recalibrating expectations based on what is actually feasible from a data point of view. But I see that us, Quintet, but also other banks are trying to improve and increase their in-house capabilities in terms of data. Yes.
What kind of metrics are you using within the bank, within your bank, to measure progress?
So yeah, it's a nice follow-up question, because when I speak about data, it may seem like I'm speaking about very dry things, but actually in my everyday work, when the metrics that I'm interested in are not as dry, actually. I'm interested in two things. One thing is the engagement at management level. If I see my management, whether it's the executive committee or board, who are asking me questions, challenging me, asking me what are the best priorities to set for our bank, how we set ourselves vis-a-vis our peers, that is the message. That signals to me that the topic is being ingrained at the top, and that then the message can trickle down into the organization. And so hence the other metric that I follow is also what is the level of engagement that I see from the staff, from my colleagues, like what are the amount of questions, proposals, ideas that come from my colleagues from completely separate departments, because that means that the tone has actually trickled down into the different teams, and people are realizing that sustainability is not a topic of just one person, of just myself, head of corporate sustainability, but it's really something that they can all engage with. And that those two metrics for me are things that we should all be looking at, because at the end, if we want to make this sustainability journey a reality, we need a culture that supports it.
Last question. How useful is this conference for you in your work?
Oh, very useful. I think it's very useful because it opens up our minds to the whole range of topics, approaches that there could be to sustainable finance. It's very easy to get tied down to very specific things that we are used to seeing. So it's very good to have like a push to see broader than just what we see in our everyday life.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.